Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, so at my end of year survey, I gave an option to ask me anything. It's a question I do every single year. And I had over 150, really probably closer to 200 when you include that a lot of people sent in multiple questions, but I had about 150 questions come in. And I'm tackling some of those questions today, kind of rapid fire style for some and explaining a bit more on others. And I just love knowing what you guys want to know because it's sometimes different questions than what I would guess you want to hear about. So basically I went through the survey results. I pulled a bunch of like the bit more personal questions about my business and my personal life versus like super advice giving type questions, which for those I might do like more entire episodes on that one topic. But over half the questions had that been to them anyway. So basically I picked some of my favorites that I thought you guys would enjoy right now. And for some of them, I'll have longer answers to them. Like, for example, a question of what exactly my work schedule is like right now, a secret to blogging that not enough people do. And then others are going to be quicker. Like my favorite brand of jeans is a question I'll talk about, what I'm doing for workouts right now, some things about Colin's school situation. I'm going to be talking about motherhood and business, mom guilt, all of that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a fun episode, casual, but still jammed packed with advice and encouragement for you and your own business. And if you are someone who's like, oh, I'm curious about the behind the scenes of Elizabeth's business, building my business, all of that kind of stuff, boundaries with work and home life, what sucks about working for yourself, all of that good stuff, you're going to find it in this episode. So let's dive in. All right, first question. So these are in no particular order. I literally just kind of tried to pick to differentiate where we kind of hit on one topic, then hit something completely different. But this kind of an intense one to start with, you could say, what is the worst thing about your career? So that question came in a few different formats on the end of year survey. And I love this question because it actually took me a minute because I truly do love what I do so much. Like that's not just made up fluffy stuff, fake stuff people say. I really do love my work, but it's also like, ask me a different day, ask me on a really hard day because there are so many hard days as business owners. If you scroll back a few episodes to 199, I did a podcast about scripture to encourage you in your business. And I talked about that, about like business is hard, like not all days are fun. And you can be like, oh, this is like, harder than it might have been working for someone else. But anyway, I really love it and I would not trade it for another career. But what is the worst thing? I was like, okay, there are some things that I would say are the worst things. And I have 3 I want to share with you. Basically the things when I think about like what I hate most about the career path I've chosen. So first thing I hate most is tax time, which is actually right now because I'm recording this actually just a few days before you guys are going to listen to it. But this is the time of year where we are working on end of year taxes, and taxes stress me out and confuse me in all honesty. And I'm good with money. I'd say I'm good at making money. I'm good at saving money and pretty good at managing money, but taxes scare me and confuse me and cause me some anxiety. And I think a reason for that is, one, our taxes have gotten more complicated every single year, it feels like. Last year was probably the most complicated, or no, sorry, not last year, the year prior. So right now we're doing taxes obviously for 2022. 2021 was probably the most complicated tax year of my entire life because we had a child, bought multiple rental properties, had tuition payments for Adam. My business had become an S Corp. Like we had started a new business, the real estate business. So much stuff. But that year I had a big tax issue happen. There was a mistake on my part. There was literally like me trying to do the right thing, but paying it to the wrong place. It's a whole I won't even get into it, but it was a whole thing and it was a big deal and it created a lot of headache for me. And again, it was all like an accident relating to me kind of not understanding some stuff about Tennessee tax is what I would say to explain it. But I feel like I have whiplash from that experience of like, oh my gosh, that was so stressful and rough. And yeah, so taxes. And unfortunately, my business, and a lot of you guys are in the same situation, because of the size of my business, I pay a ton in taxes. And that can feel like it really stinks. Like you're not big enough to get tax breaks that a big corporation might have, but you're also not super small. Like you're making money with good profit margins. And so the IRS definitely takes a share of that. And I don't mind paying taxes. It's more just like, I can feel like, okay, just tell me what to pay. And I'm so confused and it's a lot. So yeah, tax time is a time where I'm like not necessarily enjoying the career path and can sometimes be like, oh, that'd be nice if I could just like use TurboTax and like call it a day. Okay, second thing that can be hard when the desire to compare creeps in. This doesn't always happen for me, but it does probably like once a week maybe, where I can just feel like I am comparing myself to other businesses, and that can leave you feeling behind, not good enough, like you're doing something wrong, and that sucks. And I try to make my environment such that that doesn't happen to me as often. Social media is a big way that happens for all of us, and I'd say that is for me as well. And because of that, I try to spend more time creating than consuming, so less time scrolling, more time posting, and that definitely helps with this. But that is a time that I would say like, business can feel hard and my career path can feel like, when you're feeling comparison-y, which that's just life though, right? Like even if you're in a different career path, you'd probably still feel that. And the third thing would be wearing so many hats. It's hard sometimes. So I'm working on like team structure and hiring help within my business to kind of deal with some of this. But especially since having Colin and becoming a mom last year, I feel like I dropped balls because I'm wearing too many hats now. And we'll get into that on this episode. I'm going to talk about my work schedule and some things like that, but it can feel really hard sometimes. And I think too, and this is like funny to me whenever I truly realize how true this is, but I think a lot of people don't realize how much I actually do in my business. Like with this podcast, for example, I am the ideas person. I'm the person who then outlines the idea and then records it, like records all of it. I'm doing all those steps myself. And I know a lot of content creators, they do have someone where they're like, hey, you're going to do an episode on this. You're going to do a YouTube video on this. Here's the idea. Here's the script. Now go read it. And here's the ad of the person who's sponsoring it. Go read that. And then it's like, that's like what they're doing. Not to say that saying all isn't the right word because there's still so much that goes into content creation regardless. But I am the one that does like the ideation, the outlining, all of that. Literally on this particular episode this morning, I was like, okay, I got to record an episode for next week. And I was thinking about like, okay, what do I want to talk about? And then I went through the end of year survey and was like, I'm going to do this. I wrote an outline for this, which took me probably about an hour and 15 minutes to kind of go through my thoughts on it. And now I'm here immediately after recording it, but I'm doing all that myself. And I could afford to have more help with it, but I think I do want some more help actually right now on like the more like later steps on the podcast process. But that beginning step of like the ideation, the outlining, the creating of content, that is like the joy of podcasting and content for me. I absolutely love content creation. Ask me what the best part of my career is, and that would actually be one of my answers is creating content. But it can still be a lot sometimes. I think people don't realize how much of it I do myself, even though I do, again, have a team who's helping with so much stuff, but there's a lot more maybe that I do myself than sometimes people realize that can cause me when I'm working less hours and stuff to drop the ball more. So that's my first answer to that question though. Worst things about my career. There's more, right? Like business again isn't perfect, but those are some things that come to mind. Okay. Second question. What are the tiny secrets to blogging? The things that are key, but that people don't do? I may do a whole episode on this at some point because I really love that question. And I love the idea of like the secrets that people just aren't talking about. And yeah, the one though that I would say that came to mind for me that is more of like a quick tip that I rarely see other small businesses doing, but that I see larger businesses doing and that I personally do, and it works really well. And that is linking out to your other content throughout the blog post. So let me explain what I mean by that. I do not mean having a few key things at the end of your blog post that you're telling people to go read. You know how there's a plugin for that where there's like, 3 posts, an image of each, and like the description, the title that the post, and then it's like the plugin is pulling that these are the most relevant posts based on what they're reading. You should do that. That's great, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm also not talking about hyperlinking text throughout your blog post to other relevant episodes. So for example, hyperlinking the word marketing strategy to another blog post you've written about marketing strategy. You should definitely do that. But those are not the things I'm talking about. What I mean is that within the blog post, saying something like just a true interrupter within your content, want more, check out post title, and then that entire span of text being linked to that other blog post, where then when they click that, it's going to open in a new window to this other post on your site. So basically encouraging people to stay on your site longer, and even potentially leaving that blog post they're currently in to go to another blog post within your own website. Now, I would not say doing that to link to other people's content. You want to be keeping people on your own site when you're doing this strategy. But basically, I started doing this last year, so you can literally go to my blog to see this in action. But I started doing this last year after I found myself on so many baby sleep, baby food, baby blogs. And I was seeing those bloggers doing this so well, and it really working on me, where like I'm reading this blog, about newborn sleep. And then I am seeing like read more on newborn feeding. It's like super relevant. I'm clicking over that. And before I know it, I've been reading this blog for quite a long time. And so I think that's super helpful. And it's especially going to be something that's helpful if you have a lot of content to work with, which is where I'm at. I mean, this is episode 202 of my podcast. I've done plenty of blog posts that are not podcast episodes, but even just looking at podcast content, I have over 200 pieces of content I can link between. So trying to do that more of basically linking out to like other relevant posts within the content. So that's something I would say you should definitely try if you're not doing that. All right, next question. Favorite books you've read this year? So I think this would be referring to last year, but I want to talk about this year first, and this won't be a quick answer. But if you love reading like me, you might want to check out these things. So it's early in the year. I love reading. Find me on Goodreads. If you're not, if you use Goodreads, come find me. If you don't use Goodreads, you should totally check it out. It's a very easy way to like track what you want to read, write reviews, track what you have read, see what your friends are reading. Anyway, would love to be friends with you on Goodreads. But my favorite this year so far, and again, it's only February, but would be The Maid by Nina Prose. I read it for book club. It's actually our book club book this month, but I read it like a month early, and it is so good and fun. I am someone who really loves mysteries, and this was more of like a fun, lighthearted mystery, and I really enjoyed it. So kind of quirky vibes to it. So I would say that one's my favorite so far this year. And then my favorites from last year, I have 3 I want to share with you. So first one, and I literally went through my Goodreads, like looked at like, okay, what did I read in 2022? And then was like, okay, these are my favorites from that. So favorite, like just fun mystery would be Good Rich People. I loved it. It's satire. It's kind of dark. It's twisty. It definitely is a book not everyone will like. If you read the reviews, it's one of those kind of polarizing books, but I love it. I really love satire. So that would be my favorite, just like fun read. My favorite spiritual book I read last year would be Risen Motherhood. I cannot recommend that enough to moms. Seriously, such an incredible book that I've revisited time and time again. And you can kind of, as you read it, like treat it like a devotional where you read one chapter a week or a day or whatever you want to do there. But it's a really incredible book that I come back to like different chapters on regularly. And then another one worth mentioning, I really love novellas. If you've never read a novella, it's basically like a short story is another way to kind of describe it. Some of you who are super bookworms might need to correct me on the way I just described it, but basically a short book. And my favorite I read last year was The Test. And I might mispronounce the author's name. I'm going to try not to, but Sylvain Neuvel, I think is how you say that. But if you look up The Test, you'll find it. And again, a short read, probably like an hour long. It is quite dark. So it was more of like a horror read, but I enjoyed it. It was short, very suspenseful. And I think my book club is actually going to read that this year. I had the suggestion to us of like, okay, let's do a novella month where we pick like 3 different ones and read those and talk about all of them. So I think that will be one we do. But again, a little dark. It's funny that my 2 main suggestions for 2022 are a bit darker, but really, really good if you like little short books or mysteries. Okay. Next question, and this one I got quite a few times in different ways, so I'm combining 2 here. I'm going to read you what these 2 people said. where do you see yourself professionally when Colin is 18? And what is your ultimate career goal? And then another question that was similar was, what are the big dreams you have for yourself in your business? So I don't know, honestly. I really don't. And I've been sitting lately with being okay not knowing. First of all, thinking about when Colin's 18, that's like, 16 and a half years from right now. So it's hard to know what anything will look like that far into the future. But what I do know is when I look at the next years of my life, I don't know what all my business will unfold. And I think when I said I'm kind of being okay sitting with that lately, what I mean by that is I've kind of accepted that I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to know what exact product trajectory I have for this or what team thing for this and what for the podcast for the next 10 years. When you work in the industry, many of us are in, myself in, and many of you guys listening, online business and, lifestyle type businesses, it's forever changing. So what I do know though is that what I want my work hours to look like, what I want home hours to look like long term. And I do know that at least while Colin and future kids are little, so prior to him being 18, I want to be working less hours and spending more time with them during the day, especially before Colin is in kindergarten. So I know some of the structure goals. I want to have a life first approach to work where I love what I do. Like you guys heard me say, I truly love my business, but I'm not living for my business. And more so it's that I'm grateful that I get to love what I do, but also that what I do is supporting my life. And I'm more focused on living my life than working. And so as someone who works in, like I said, in a very challenging and involving space, I can't predict where things will be 16 and a half years from now. Website templates might not even be a thing. Maybe AI robots will be building our websites. Oh my gosh, scary thought. Who the heck knows though? What I am sure though is I do love designing in whatever capacity that can look like. And I love teaching in whatever capacity that can look like. And I see myself continuing to podcast, continuing to teach things like courses and continuing to design. And I also hope that in that, 16 and a half years from now when Colin's 18, that Adam and I's real estate business can be a true source of income that maybe even replaces my income. Who knows? We're really drawing a paycheck from that and could possibly allow my business to look a lot different than it does now. So I don't know is the answer. And I do have a lot of big dreams, but it also is really hard for me to think that far into the future right now. I said this on another episode recently. I think it was the one 2 weeks ago where I was sharing habits that have transformed my business, but I don't have that far out of a vision for actual things the business is doing. I do have that far out of a vision though for what I want my life to look like. So that's kind of how I approach it. And I think it's exciting not to know and exciting to just know that I want to keep working. I want to keep my business going. I want to keep teaching. I want to keep designing and holding loosely what that plan will look like. So fun question though. And something again, I'm always loving thinking about. So pivoting directions, like I said, these questions are kind of going all over the place. And I kind of structured them to where if you're not interested in one of them, you might be interested in the next one. So this one was also asked a few times. Where do most of your clients come from? They said social, referrals, etc. Another question was, what is the one thing you do consistently that brings you the most business? So combining these two questions here, but I want to talk about them in two ways. So first of all, though, I do track this of where people who buy are coming from. I track it in ClickUp. I use Zapier to go from ThriveCart to ClickUp, and it creates a task when someone buys, and then it's categorizing it, and I have to go in monthly, or actually I do it more weekly, but I'm going in putting, what they bought, what their answer was to where they first heard about me, all of that kind of stuff. So I track it though, as much as I can, but it's still tough to truly have all the data around this sort of stuff unless you want to become crazy data person, which some people do that and good for them, but I don't do an insane amount of tracking on all of this. But I do ask on every purchase, if you ever buy something from me, you will see the question phrased a little differently depending on what the product is, but where did you first hear about me is the general gist of the question, and people can write in an answer. So it's not a drop down of Instagram, podcast, whatever. I want people to be able to write it in because I love it when people are specific. So again, a little hint, if you want to come buy something from me, which first of all, would love for you to to be a customer of, book.design or the templates, whatever it is. But when I ask that question, I literally read every single response. And not only that, but I end up seeing your name as a task and ClickUp, where then I categorize you into what you said and then look at it all on a pie chart. And I also pray over you as a customer whenever I go in and do all that. That's something I love, as like a little bit of a ritual in my business. But anyway, side tangent there. You don't know though how people are taking that question. Like they could take it as when they first heard about you or when they decide to make the purchase. So that's why I'm like, it's hard to like fully know the answer to this. So for example, they may have first heard of me from like a webinar I did with Dubsado, but then they listened to the podcast after that for months and then ultimately bought a template. Or they may have found me on a Google search and found a podcast episode, blog post, and they opted in for a freebie and got on my email list and then bought after learning about, say book.designer through emails. Like that could be, both of those things could be the trajectory. So interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Then because of that, someone might say their answer is that, they heard about me from Google, but then also getting emails was like a big contributor. Like it's just hard to know. So anyway, I do look at that data though and take it with a grain of salt to kind of see like, okay, what's working, what's not. And I cannot encourage that enough, guys. Like please look at where people are finding you and do more of that. Like if right now you're stressing yourself out that you've got to be on TikTok, you got to be on Pinterest, you need to be on LinkedIn too, and Facebook and all the places, but then people aren't actually finding you those places. After you've put in the effort of building it up, it might not be worth it. Now, if it's a brand new thing, like right now this year, I'm exploring getting on YouTube. No one's found me from YouTube yet, to my knowledge. So like, it's okay that that's the case right now. But if in 6 months from now, a year from now, people are still not finding me from YouTube, then I need to be like, is YouTube worth doing? So anyway, that was a little tangent there. But I have that data from that response. Again, I'm constantly categorizing, looking at it on a pie chart, and I'll kind of tell you the results of that. But then for my end of year survey, which again was people who both bought from me, a lot of them, probably about half those people were customers, and then others were people in my community, like maybe you guys listening to this podcast who haven't purchased anything, but are like here as a listener, someone who I talk to on Instagram, all that kind of stuff. But looking at that, it was really fascinating because social media, this podcast, and referrals from other people were all almost tied for like the top way people are finding me. So where do people come from? The top things for me would be Instagram, this podcast, and then friends who tell you like, hey, you need to check out Elizabeth's templates, or you need to join book.designer, or come listen to her podcast. Like those sorts of things would be my top referrals. So word of mouth really is huge. And then Instagram and this podcast. But then, so that's the first part of that, right? Where do most of my clients come from? Those 3 places. Referrals are huge for me, for sure. And then What's the one thing I do consistently, though, that brings me the most business? Because that is like a different question, really. And the one thing that I do that brings me the most business would 100% be this podcast. And it also happens to be one of my favorite things I do in my work. So that works out so well for me, right? That the thing I love most is also one of the biggest referrals. And I feel like sometimes people don't realize that with podcasting, because I have not done a lot of sponsorships and things like that. So my podcast has typically not been a direct revenue generator for my business, but at the same time, it actually is because of people listening and learning about me and my products, and then ultimately a lot of people buying. So anyway, that would be the one thing consistently do. And, I love it. So it also has that huge, huge, huge win for me. Okay, so now I transition to some kind of working mom stuff. So I have 2 back-to-back questions on this topic. So first is, how's Colin's school going? How do you handle mom guilt and missing him? So thanks for asking about how school is going. And for context, I actually do want to explain this. I don't think I've talked about this on my podcast. I've talked about it on other podcasts. But we did childcare at home, mainly me and Adam taking care of Colin, and then my mother-in-law, who is one of my favorite people, coming to visit and helping a lot for Colin's entire first year of life. So like me and Adam and my mother-in-law every now and then was basically how we did childcare. And so as you can imagine, I worked a lot less during that time because it was hard at times to make time for work. Adam has more of like this is when he has to be somewhere. He is in grad school for counseling and also already sees clients as a counselor. So his work schedule has more intensity to it than mine. So I've had a lot of last year of like working when I can moments. And so we tried, though, a Parents' Day Out program, also called a Mother's Day Out program, right when Colin was turning 1. And I had gotten on the wait list for it when he was 6 months old. I did the tour. I was so thrilled about it. It was really close to our house. And I didn't even really look at other places, which was a mistake. Okay. So I have some advice if you're thinking about childcare as a new mom. So listen up if that's you. But yeah, so didn't really look at other places. And that program was 2 days a week, and it was 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So not that many hours. It was like a strict, like, this is when you pick up, this is when you drop off. And that ultimately didn't work out, even though the program looked amazing. I have friends who have their kids there and have great experience, but we did not. And Colin had separation anxiety so badly there. I think it was the timing, like at that point in his life, he really had separation anxiety peak at about 11 months to like a year and a month old, where he like would be upset even at home if like me or Adam left the room. Like it was very intense. And so you can imagine that like when he was used to like always basically being with me or Adam, and then us leaving him somewhere completely new, it was really hard on him. So he had separation anxiety really bad. And you just don't know what you don't know. But since that program was a church program, it was very affordable, considered like a ministry by this church, again, Mother's Day Out, Parents' Day Out program. They didn't necessarily work with us on all the separation anxiety as much as I would have hoped. It was kind of like we have these systems in place. He is crying too much. And that was that. So basically we tried to do that program for about a month, maybe even less than that. Where almost every day though, after the first 2 weeks, they like, he was there the 2 days a week, and it just wasn't going well. But then after that, it was like basically every day it'd be like, okay, it's, it was on Tuesday, Thursday. So it'd be like, okay, Tuesday, he's been there 9 to 10 and I'm getting a call to come pick him up because he was upset and crying too much. And it was really hard. That was like that time last year. That was like September of last year, was just really hard because I had gotten excited about the fact that like, okay, now I'm going to have some childcare help, even though I loved it just being me and Adam that first year. I don't regret doing it that way and really enjoyed it. But I was like, okay, I'm going to have these 10 hours a week to work. It's going to be awesome. And then it was like literally taken from us basically. So we ended up pulling him from it because of how it wasn't working. And we stopped the program. And then at that point, I had to look into other places. And the wait lists are crazy. I'm sure it's like that everywhere, but like the most daycares and preschools and Mother's Day Out programs, all of them can have insanely long wait lists. So know that if the first place doesn't work out, you can't just be like, all right, well, there's this other place. I'll go enroll them next week. It typically is not going to work like that. At least where we live, it's like that. So the kind of first piece of advice I would give to someone who is figuring this out for the first time that I wish I had done was I went all in on that one program, right? Like I got got him on the wait list for it. I did the touring when he was like 6 months old for him to start when he was a year old. And that was the only place we really looked into. That's the only place I toured. I looked into other places online and stuff and asked around to friends and whatnot. But that was the only place he was on the wait list for. So like when it didn't work out, we were starting at 0 on other places. So I would say it'd be good to get on the wait list for multiple places, even if you feel really certain that the one you want most will work out. But then the other thing that maybe I'm crazy for not having realized this. You guys can let me know. Let me know if you were someone who also did not know this. But I did not realize that you could do part-time childcare at daycares and preschools. And that is so obvious to me now that you can, but I want to say that on the podcast because it was not obvious to me at the time, and it may not be obvious to other new moms who are looking for just part-time care. I feel like it's more often that people who are doing part-time childcare outside the home are doing Mother's Day Out programs only. And so that's where kind of I had that perspective. Like my friends who are that situation are doing Mother's Day Out. My friends who work full-time are doing daycare. So that's like all I saw. So I thought daycares and preschools were full-time only, Mother's Day Out were the part-time thing only, and I was wrong. And so now looking back, even though the timing was so hard when the school didn't work out, I'm glad it didn't, because to answer the original question, Colin is loving his school. He's in a school now that's a much better fit for him. It's a preschool. Adam and I both love the school he's at. His teachers are amazing. And the place is more flexible than the Mother's Day Out program was, because it's like a for real business versus like a church ministry, which again, all Mother's Day Out programs are gonna be different, but that was just our experience. But anyway, it's amazing. And I love that he loves it. We do 3 days a week, and it's not just 9 to 2. It's a bit more flexible on the timing, which I'm going to get into my schedule and kind of tell you what we do for that in a moment. But to answer the mom guilt question, because I would love to talk about that. So I don't have mom guilt for him being in school. And I think every family is so different. You probably know plenty of parents, maybe you are one of them, who do full-time daycare, and you start that when the child is like really little. And then other families don't do any outside the home childcare and have a full-time stay-at-home parent instead. And then some families are more like a mix where you're doing a little childcare and then a little stay-at-home parenting. You have to do what works for you and like work towards what you want your family vision to be. And I'm really grateful personally that our life situation, our working life, has allowed us to have Colin home more than he's at school, because that's what Ab and I both wanted. So that's something you need to talk about with your spouse, plan with your family, and plan with yourself of like, hey, what do I want my working life and childcare life to look like? And try to work towards whatever that vision is. And for us, though, like I said, we never really planned to do full-time childcare, and we don't plan to until Colin is school-aged, at which time I think he will go to school full time, I guess. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I don't have mom guilt though for doing preschool 3 days a week, but I do miss him for sure. And we've been doing this school now, the 3 days a week preschool, for 3.5 months. So we do have more of a rhythm at this point. I would say like the first few weeks though, it felt harder. Drop off was also harder at first than it is now. But now that we have more of a rhythm, I will say I love it. Like I love getting to just focus on work and things for myself while he's at school. I love having that time to do other things that are like, besides me as a mother, but the other parts of myself, being able to focus there and then focusing on him when he's home with me. Like I love it. And it is the right amount of childcare for us at this point. I think it's possible though that not even next year, like in a few months, even after Adam graduates from grad school, we might switch Colin to just 2 days a week instead of 3, to have him home more. But that's what's working for us right now. And I don't have mom guilt, but I've gotten into it. And I think you just have to know, like, you are more than a mother. You're more than a business owner too. Like there's so many different parts of you. And I think having childcare help helps you be able to be those other parts of you. So that's kind of how I figure all of that out. I hope that's helpful. So, okay, next question that also relates to this one. Would love to hear how you balance work and mom life, the hours you work, your childcare boundaries, etc. So this connects really well to the last question, and this could be a whole episode. So I want to tell you guys, though, in non-whole episode format, just like a bullet point format, what my work schedule is like right now, because I do think that's helpful to see an inside peek at other people's businesses. I'm personally so nosy on this kind of stuff. So anytime people are like telling me about their day in a podcast, I'm like here for it, and what their schedule's like. So hopefully this is interesting to you. If not, you could try to kind of skip forward to the next question. But right now, like I said, Colin is in school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I am working those days in some capacity, always basically. And we usually drop him. Oh, also, I should add though, he's at school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But oh my gosh, something you learn quickly with kids. Literally, I say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but the past 3 weeks, we only had him there 2 of the days because of getting sick. He had ear tubes put in, which was like a surgical procedure that he missed school for. So like you don't always get the childcare that you're paying for because of things like that. But on those days, anyway, we drop him off around 8:30. And Adam does drop-offs on Monday and Wednesday, and then I do drop-off on Friday. Adam is better at doing drop-offs than me. Colin actually hates it when I drop him off. And still, after him doing the school 2.5 months, when I drop him off, it's not pretty. He usually cries and doesn't want to be separated from me. But with Adam, not that I think it's just the mother connection, but with Adam, he usually does better and will like be happy going to his teachers. I also think I'm bad at lingering at drop off because I can be chit chatty and then I get all sad and I make it probably worse for Colin. But anyway, so Adam typically does drop offs, and then I pick him up always on Monday, Wednesday, and typically on Friday as well, because Adam is always at work at the pickup timing. So basically, I pick Colin up though around 3 to 4 p.m. And again, he's dropped off around 8:30 or 9. And he gets upset if the other parents start coming and I'm not there yet to pick him up. Technically, this place, the way it works is that we're paying to have him there. I think you can drop your kid off anytime as early as like 7:30 and pick up at 5:30 is the latest, I'm pretty sure. We've never done that long though, but you're paying for it and you get to like pick when you drop off and pick up and all of that, which is really nice. I love that flexibility. Back on how I like this situation better than the parent stay out program we were doing, because if I need a little bit more time, I can take it. I can pick him up super early. It's like you do whatever you want there. But basically I pick him up between 3 to 4 p.m. He gets upset if other parents start coming and I'm not there yet. So I try to go earlier when possible. So if you look at that timing though, I have from about 8 a.m. because that's when Adam leaves to take Colin to school typically, till about 2:30 p.m. or 3 p.m. to work on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's about 5 hours each of those days, 5.5 maybe, when you include me taking like a lunch break or a break to work out or a break to do a quiet time, any of those sorts of things. So it's about 15 hours from that I'm getting childcare help, which again has been so helpful these past 3.5 months where I've had this preschool helping us. I have felt like I can breathe a little bit more and see more clarity in my business, all kinds of things. So it's been really helpful. And when I pick Colin up on Monday and Wednesday, Adam is working those days and he's working at night. So that really stinks for us scheduling wise, but that's just the season we're in. So I really wish we had nights together as a family, but it's not our season of life and it will be at some point. Again, I'm hopeful about that, but not our season of life right now. So Adam has either counseling sessions at night or night class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until 7 p.m. or sometimes even where he's not home till 8 p.m. or 8:30. So basically on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and specifically on Monday and Wednesday, when I pick Colin up, it's just me and him from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at bedtime, which is both fun because I love that quality one-on-one time, but it also can be exhausting at times, and I can feel like, oh, I wish Adam was home so we could all have dinner together as a family. So on on Thursday and Friday, Adam is home at night with us. But yeah, so that's what Monday, Wednesday is like. Again, Friday, Adam's home. Sorry if this is confusing, but back to Tuesday, Thursday. So like you just heard me say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, basically are days I'm working. Tuesday, Thursday. Tuesday is my mom day right now. And this is always changing, right? Because I have a husband who is in graduate school where things change by the semester. He is also a counselor already where client stuff changes. He has a pretty consistent schedule, but his clients could need to reschedule and things like that. But what our season, this literally started in January for me, is that Tuesdays are my mom day. So I don't typically work at all on Tuesdays. And I'm trying to really, really let Tuesday be like a stay-at-home mom day for me. And I'm still getting used to that. Like, for example, I can find myself wanting to work during Colin's nap, but I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to be like, okay, no, this is my day of no work, my day of me and Colin doing fun stuff together, and then me possibly resting during his nap, reading a book, doing a house project, something like that. But I don't always do that. Still, again, this is new for me. It's only been like a month of Tuesdays being my mom day. Last year, it was more days, obviously, and we didn't have childcare, but November and December last year, Thursdays was the day for me. So anyway, I'm still navigating that. And some Tuesdays, Adam is home in the middle of the day between his night class and his morning work sessions. And when that's the case, we'll often do something as family during the day. Or if I have a work thing that I'm like needing to get done, Adam might take over for an hour or so for me to like go upstairs and work. That actually is what the case was yesterday, because yesterday was Tuesday as I'm recording this, and I launched a new template, which was so exciting, the landing page bundle. So go check that out. I'll link to that in the show notes. Super, super awesome new template that you can add on to any show at website. But that was the launch day. So that was a day. Yesterday was a day where I worked during Colin's nap. And then also Adam gave me like an hour in the afternoon to like come upstairs and work. And then Tuesdays, though, being my mom day, I really just have so much fun. I've looked forward to Tuesdays. I like to plan some fun activities for me and Colin to do. So like the past 2 weeks, we've gone to the library toddler story time on Tuesdays. And I like to do something together outside the house, like going to the park, Barnes and Noble, shopping, go to Target, go to Trader Joe's, whatever. I like doing some activities, and also planning like possibly something fun to do at home. Like I literally will just look up on Google, like type in like Montessori ideas at home for 18-month-old, and then like find the most random things where you probably already have the stuff you need in your house to do the idea, and then I'll like plan to do it with Colin. So Tuesdays, though, it's me and Colin all the way through bedtime and beyond, because that's when Adam has night class. So it's a long day of solo parenting, but really fun. And then Thursdays are Adam's solo day with Colin. So that's a work day for me where I often will go past 3 p.m. because I'm not having to pick Colin up from school or anything like that. But I do stop and do things together as a family. So Thursdays we'll often eat lunch together. We'll go to the playground. We almost always go out to eat Thursdays because Adam doesn't have work that night. And then weekends we don't typically work at all, and we just do things together as a family and do things with friends, all of that. And so as you can gather from that, as you hear me talk through that work schedule, I'm working like 20-ish, maybe 25 hours a week right now. If I'm doing my math right, I'm like, am I? I think I am. I think that's kind of what it comes out to, which is slim, but I making it work and I like it. I feel like it's working well for me, and that is the beauty of the type of business I built and the business model I have, and it works out well. And my business is still growing. I'm having fun and really, really love being able to work those amount of hours and then also be with Colin other times, and have times for other things as well within there, like hanging out with friends and exercising, reading, all of the other things I really enjoy doing. Okay, I have 4 more questions left. I think I'm going to cut some ones I had planned because I don't want this episode to be too long, but let me know if you want a part 2, because again, I had like 150 questions I could answer. This is a just fun short one. What do you do for workouts? So what am I doing right now? Well, first of all, I'm going to sound like an old woman, but y'all, last week, I literally cracked a rib. Not kidding. So it hurts pretty bad. So not really exercising right now. And it's actually yesterday and today I felt rough in particular. Yesterday was the 1 week since it happened, and it was really painful, but hard for me to even pick up Colin. And there's not really much you can do for a cracked rib. So it's kind of like you just got to wait it out. So not exercising much right now, doing a lot of like trying to not even bend over too much. The way it happened was actually hilariously at the playground. As I'm talking about playgrounds, I was doing something, I'm not even going to explain it, but basically I slammed my rib and literally lost my breath. And when it happened, all that, it hurt pretty bad. So I'm okay though, but that's something going on. But for workouts, what I'm loving right now, Nourish Move Love on YouTube, literally free workouts. That's the name of the channel. Her name is Lindsay Bachman. Absolutely adore her. I should try to get her on this podcast because I would love to just be her friend and talk to her, but I cannot recommend her videos enough. She is both like enjoy, like, first of all, the workouts are actually hard and challenging and good, but then she's so encouraging to listen to, and they are like legitimately fun. Like, I feel like I'm working out with a personal trainer who's my friend, and she's like talking through things and making jokes. She right now is a mom of like 3 or 4 kids, and she's about 6 months postpartum. So she'll kind of talk about some of that stuff in the videos even. And her workouts are good at being quick and efficient. So if you want like a program of hers to start with, just go to her channel and look at the Strong in 20 program. I've done that one through like twice now. It released at the beginning of January this year, but it's literally 20-minute workouts where there's a workout for each, like for 5 days a week, I believe is what it is. And it's a 2-week program. So there's like 10 total workouts in it. And they are so good. Like, she gets straight to it, 20 minutes and you're done. And again, they're actually tough. Like, they're challenging. And it's all weightlifting based typically, and some like high intensity interval training as well. But anyway, I just love her, and it's all free, which is so nice. So I was never in the past much of a like video workout person, but in this season of life, I have enjoyed that, to have like the motivation of someone else kind of talking me through the workouts. And then other things I do right now, I walk a ton. I go on walks with Colin in the stroller. And I've always been really into walking, and that's just become even more true in this season of life. And then I also like jogging on the treadmill and outside some. But yeah, that's basically what I do. So, okay, next question. Do you think you'll have any more kiddos? How will that impact the structure of your business? So this is a fun one. So yes, we do want more kids, Lord willing. I'm not sure how many yet, but I do know that we want more than one. And when I think about when number 2 will happen, I'm going to get personal here, but how I feel is that I personally want a break from being breastfeeding or pregnant before trying to get pregnant again. So Colin is still breastfeeding, and weaning him from nursing has been harder than expected, which is a whole nother story. But at the time I'm recording this, he is almost 18 months old. And that means, which is so crazy to think about this, I've been either pregnant or nursing for over 2 years, like 2 years and 3 months, I think, to be exact. And basically, before getting pregnant again, I would love to have a time, maybe even just a few months, maybe a year, I don't know, where I am not pregnant or nursing. And nursing a toddler has been quite taxing on me. It is not the same as a baby. And like I said, weaning has been tough going. I've even worked with my lactation consultant again of like trying to figure out weaning. So anyway, though, I'm wanting that little break of waiting before baby number 2. But I also know that the timing of it all is not in my hands. It's in God's hands. And so I'm feeling very prayerful about the timing. And also knowing that, like, getting pregnant is not always easy. So you never know. So anyway, though, how will that impact the structure of my business? Probably in really big ways, I would imagine. I think people typically say that going from 0 to 1 is harder than going from 1 to 2 kids. And I can totally see how that would be the case. But I think in your business, it would probably be quite a big impact going from 1 to 2 even. So I don't know. I do think whenever I have number 2, as you've kind of heard me talk about, I think it'll impact my business in big ways, just like Colin did. And I really loved not doing outside the home childcare until Colin was around 1. So I think we might be trying to do that again when we have a second child, if it ends up working out timing wise, which means like working less for a season and probably hustling a little when I'm pregnant to get ahead on work and get things ready to take a long maternity leave again. I really, really think the long maternity leave was good for me in adjusting to mom life and being able to pause in my business for a bit. I really enjoyed that. And it also means Adam might step back from his work some too when baby 2 happens to be available for childcare at home. And we just both tag team again. But yeah, I don't know. I really, really love my business, but I feel that I'm a mom first. I'm willing to give up time in my work and like not quote unquote move forward as much as I could to be with future kids. And knowing that this season of life when they're little, like I'm in my business for the long haul, but they're only little for this time. And so like, it's okay that my business looks different in these years and kind of just being fine with that. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more questions and then stop us here. So next question, this one's short. What is your favorite brand of jeans? I thought this was such an interesting question because I don't even wear jeans much. I am more of a leggings and like shorts person as much as possible. Especially as I work from home, I'm like right now I'm just wearing shorts and a sweatshirt. Like that's typically my attire. But my favorite pair of jeans, as someone who hates wearing jeans, is Spanx's fake jeans. So I have them in denim and in white. and they are the best. Like I said, I personally just don't really like wearing jeans, so they're amazing because they look like jeans but feel more like leggings, and they actually do look like jeans in that they're thick, but there's really, really comfortable. So I know there are some jeggings out there where it's like, we're calling this jeans, but like, let's be real, it really looks like leggings. This is not the case. They look like real jeans. So the ones I have are the ankle skinny jeans, and I will link to them in the notes for this directly, the white and the denim, and then also link to the Spanx's just denim page. They have like wide leg ones. They have all sorts of styles now, but yeah, I would highly recommend those because they truly are so comfortable, and I think they look really good as well. Okay, last question. Do you ever regret going into business for yourself? I thought that was just one that I can like quickly hit on. I don't regret it even a little bit, not even a little bit. In fact, it's actually one of the best decisions I would say I've made in my entire life. Like, not kidding at all. I really feel that way. The decision to follow Jesus, to marry Adam, and to become a mom would be the 3 best decisions I made. And the 4th after those would be the decision to start my business. So truly on the list of like best decisions I made. So certainly don't ever regret. And like I said, business can be hard, but like that doesn't make me regret it. I still think it's one of the best things ever. And I truly feel at times like my business happened to me. Like it was God's will for this to happen, and it ended up, my life trajectory brought me to it. I've shared before, but I quit my job working at like an advertising place doing design. And when I quit, I was looking for another job, but didn't find one and was freelancing. I basically took on more freelance work while still trying to find a job. And ultimately, the freelance work was working well, and I really loved it, and then decided to make it a business thing. So I was not like, at the timing, I always knew I wanted to start a business, but at the timing that my business started, I was not looking to start a business. It was really that like I didn't find another job, and I didn't like my first job that led me into going into business for myself. And I'm so grateful. Like, I'm just so grateful in the way all of that happened. I'm really grateful that I didn't like my first job. I'm grateful that I had the courage to quit it. And I'm grateful that all the places that I applied to never wrote me back until after I'd already started my business, which is so funny. Literally applied to multiple jobs and did not hear back, even though I got my first job out of college so quickly that I ended up quitting. So it's just interesting the way things work out. But no, I never regret going into business for myself. And I do think there are situations where you could feel that way, depending on how your business is going. But at the same time, I think it's not a mistake. It's not a regret starting something, even if you were to quit it, as long as you're learning from it and growing from it. And it's changing and shaping who you are as a person. And that if that's happening, it's not a fail, So anyway, that's my answers. I don't regret it. So we're going to stop there. I had some more, but I don't want to make this too long. I've been talking longer than I was expecting to. But yeah, I hope this helped you guys. I hope it was interesting. Thanks for hanging with me all the way to the end. Let me know if you want more Q&A episodes. Like I said, I have a lot of questions I could pull from, but I hope so much that this was helpful to you. And as we close right now, I just want to encourage you, like I said, I launched a new template last week. Go look at it. The landing page bundle. If you type in elizabethmccravey.com/showit-email, it'll redirect you to it. But it's a template with 18 pages where 10 of them are landing page designs to use for opt-ins on your website, whether it's a waitlist for a program and a freebie on your site, whatever it is, a lot of different design options there. And then there are 3 thank you pages, 2 unsubscribe confirmation pages, and then 3 pop-up canvases that you can, again, add these pages all as needed to any Showit website to help you up level and really take action and grow in your email marketing. So I've loved seeing people already snagging it. I'm on the day 2 of it being live as I'm recording this, but yeah, go check it out and enjoy that new template. And I'll be back next week with another episode. Next week, we're actually talking about what's working in course creation and online courses and social media in 2023. Really, really fun interview where we go all over the place about like different strategies for social media and selling on social and all of that. So if that's interesting to you, be sure to come for that episode. I'll talk to you then. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on ElizabethMcCravey.com, you'll find Show It website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made Show It website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravey.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravey.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.